Hi everyone, I'm Lynda Cheldelin Fell with Grief Diaries, and today we are going to talk with Bill Downs. Bill and his wife Julie lost their son's wife, and their son's best friend in a car crash caused by a drunk driver. And let's talk about triggers that they now have to deal with for the rest of their life. Take a look. Hi Bill, how are you?
Hi, Linda. Doing just fine.
Good, good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So you lost your son, Brad,
Yeah.
and his wife and his best friend in a car crash to a drunk driver.
Yes.
And triggers is something that those of us who've gone through a trauma have to deal with from that point forward. It's something that takes us back to that moment. And what kind of triggers do parents who've lost a child to a drunk driver, a high driver, an impaired driver, what kind of triggers do you face?
Well, Linda, it can actually be a number of things. Like today, for example, when when I get up in the mornings, I usually play some type of um, gospel music to kind of get me started during the day. And we just happened to be playing a particular song, and I can't remember. I think it's Travis Strait that sings the song Three Wooden Crosses at the Side of the Highway.
Wow.
Yes, and I heard that this morning, and not only did the words speak to me, but also the fact that it was three crosses.
Yeah.
Because the kids, where they were killed, we had three crosses on the side of the highway. And so it really affected me and Julie both. Not only did we both hear the message, but just the fact that it was the three crosses. So
Right.
we had a good cry to start off the morning this morning. Then another thing is, just driving down the highway. If we hear an ambulance go by,
Mm.
that can be a trigger. It it really depends on the mood that if we're up or down that day or whatever, if it affects us. Um, Driving down the highway, if we hear screeching tires, that always sets us off. Because we can picture,
Right.
the possibility of Brad in that type of situation, even though the coroner didn't believe that they even knew what hit them. Still, just the possibility that there were screeching tires, that he
Yeah,
might
that
have.
that fear is apparent. That
Yes,
did they know what, did in that flash, did they feel pain? Did they
right.
have fear of, and they needed their mom or their dad? What about when you read in the paper of a drunk driver causing an accident, even killing somebody? What kind of emotions come up with you?
Mixed emotions. Um, the first emotion, of course, is the trauma of losing our kids, and then the heartfelt pain that I know that parent or that loved one is going through, that lost that person or was injured, and then anger towards the fact here is another uh, impaired, drug, whatever, distracted driver that has caused injury or worse, fatal, not accident, but crash involving someone else that could have taken their life or definitely changed their life forever.
Yeah, and the fact that it's happened again, that something
Yeah,
so senseless has
right.
happened again. And how about, do you ever, what about like if you're in a restaurant setting and you see someone who's getting intoxicated, or, maybe at a holiday party or something, does that trigger any kind of emotions in you?
Anger.
Yeah.
It
And what do you do with that? How do you handle that?
Well, it's sometimes hard not to say anything, so I usually have to bite my tongue and just ignore it. What I hope to do is to actually make up some like little postcards or business cards to where if I see something like that, I can just walk up to them and hand them a business card, and telling them please don't drink and drive, you know, to think before you drive. Just something to kind of make them stop and think.
Right. And would you give it to the bartender, or would you give it to the patron, or would you give it to both?
Probably the Patriot, possibly both.
Yeah. Yeah. What other emotions come up for you?
Just thinking, that could have been the person that killed my kids, or killed my best friend's kids. Just yeah, it just all kinds of emotions, from anger to sorrow, just yeah, it's a wide perimeter of feelings.
Right. Disbelief. And,
Oh
and
yeah,
I think that, too, on some level, that, the statistics are so shocking. The
yes,
number of crashes and the number of deaths
yes,
because of impaired driving. And
exactly,
we all hear about it in the news about how somebody has already had 3 DUIs or different arrests, and yet they're back out on the street again, behind the wheel of a car, and then they cause a fatality. And that's a lot to process, because it's a life sentence for you as well.
exactly.
And do you feel that you're founders of AVID? Uh, Tell us about AVID.
Well, we started AVID originally as a victim support group on Facebook, and then I guess it was let's see, 2014, we decided to start our own nonprofit, and we actually got with Candace Leitner, who was the former founder of MAD, and she helped us come up with the name ABID, because we're advocating for victims of impaired and distracted driving. And so the thought originated because we couldn't find a support group. We searched online, we searched in our local town, and there just wasn't anything there.
Okay.
So we chose to start something so that we could have somebody, and so that we could share with others what we were going through, and somewhere they could share also, so that we could help both ourselves, them and ourselves.
Right. Right.
So so AVID is a support. We have four support groups on Facebook. We have one for people that have lost someone. We have one for my dog's going to start talking. We have one for people that have been injured by a DUI crash. We have a group that is for both injuries and loss for distracted driving. And then we have one that's for BUI, which is boating under the influence.
Okay.
And that one is also for injured or loss of someone due to a BUI. So that those support groups are our motivator. The lives that we have touched is is breathtaking, and that is why every time we get a little message from somebody saying thank you, that is the reason we do what we're doing with AVID.
Yeah, how many people are in AVID?
Thinking right off the top of my head, we're probably pushing about 1,000 people across the United States. We've got probably someone in every state. We have, I think, three in Canada. We have one in South Africa, and I believe we still have one in Australia.
Okay, so
That are
you're around the world.
Yes, and we've got our 501c3 down, so we're totally legal. So
Right.
we're looking at hopefully branching out to the different states and starting little satellite support groups across the nation.
Right. And what is, losing a loved one to an impaired driver is tragic on many, many levels. But no matter what country you come from, no matter what language you speak, no matter what your spiritual belief is, that heartache transcends all those differences. That
Exactly.
heartache is the same.
Exactly.
Your emotions are the same, and there has to be comfort in,
Yeah.
with your group. What you're providing to others who walk the same journey as you is that there has to be comfort knowing you aren't the only one, and you wish you were.
Yes, it's definitely not something that we're standing alone, and that's the main thing I want to get out to the members, to the people out there in our everyday lives. You are not alone. You know, myself, Julie, and the other members. We've been there. We may not know exactly what you're going through, but we've been in a similar situation,
Right, right.
and they do not have to walk this alone.
That's right. And there is comfort in that,
Yes.
As Helen Keller once said, I'd rather walk with a friend in the dark than walk alone in the light. And that is very, very true. And so, Bill, thank you so much for sitting with me and, sharing. Triggers are a really big thing, and most people don't realize it. And so when you've been, through a trauma, triggers are present for life. And especially
Exactly.
when you've lost someone you love in a car crash. I myself, having lost a daughter in a car crash, every time one of our other kids gets in a car, it's that fear. And it's no better now
Yeah.
than it was 6 years ago. So, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Sounds great.
All right, take care. Bye bye.